Hello, and welcome to the Passion Driven Pioneers interview series. I'm your host, John Channon, and today I'm joined by King Mukherjee, who is the owner of Global Impex USA. King, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, John. It's my pleasure talking to you today.
Yeah, would you like to kick us off with a brief background as to who you are, what you do, and then the business that you're in?
Sure. So my name is King Mukherjee. I am the chair in the business department here in the university, St. John's University and College of St. Benedict in Collegeville at St. Joseph, Minnesota. That's my academic hat. The other hat I wear is my entrepreneurship hat, in which I'm the founder and the director and owner of Global Impex USA, which is industrial textile companies, which is importer, distributor, and converter. And we do business in all 50 states. I have been a member and part and board of Advanced Textile Association, and this is my third company in the textile space. I was born in India. I went to school in England. I've done businesses in 40 countries. I've lived in coast to coast and accidentally landed up in Minnesota 2007, 2008, and still in the frozen Minnesota still. There is something good about this place and doing business here and teaching business here.
So you mentioned that this is your third company.
Yes.
What was the initial spark that led you to start up this company?
The initial spark for this company was, I had some partners in the previous companies, and they were based in down south in Atlanta, and it was kind of getting difficult for me to go there and come back here and do all the business meetings. So I sold my shares in the other company, which is very successful, and started on my own in 2018 right here. Out of a cafe, I named this company Global Impex here in St. Joseph, Minnesota, and that's how I started with one intern in the similar business which I have been, and with some good backings and reputation from some good manufacturers whom I worked 18 years prior to starting this company.
Okay, so talk to us about some of the key things that you need to do in the beginning of this process, right? What are some of the things you're focused on to get that company up and get it going, right? What are some of the essential elements?
Some, of course, one of the most important element was having some amount of funding, and I was in the similar business before, so that helped to create a base. Then, writing the business plan, that's the first thing. Talking to the bankers is another thing. And since I did pretty well in my previous two companies, I could talk to some local banks in the area, which were like mid-sized to small community banking to small business banking instead of going with the big bankers. And then I could establish a line of credit based on my credibility and history of past 18 years of in textile business. And then slowly and gradually, having stocks, having inventory, uh, slowly increasing the workforce. I did it incrementally. I did not rush, because this is a business. Textile is a business of patience. It's a business of decent margin, decent living. It's not like many other high tech or unicorn business where you go through bust and boom cycle. It's very steady. So it helped me that this is my third company in this space, that I already had an established credibility. I knew the key customers, I knew the key vendors. But then again, textile is a very, very competitive business, like most businesses are. High volume, low margin, turnover business. So having stocks, having inventory, and shipping the goods when the customer needs is almost like a commodity business. It means that you have to act very fast. You also need to have the goods in stocks, and you're also dependent on warehouse and distribution network because they got to ship quickly and also cater to. So I could do all these things. I won't say from day one, but having some experiences helped me to navigate some of the challenges. But still, although it's my third company, I had to learn a lot of things very quickly, and also have to understand when the COVID hit that things are not always the same way. And even if you had 20 years of experience, you got to change and adopt and constantly look for new product development, new markets, searching for new client and customers. So all these things added up. It's a daily grind, but it's very rewarding too at the same time.
Yeah, but it sounds like in this industry, in textiles in particular, that having that supply chain skill set and the ability to be able to source materials was a real key element to getting this up and getting this going.
Absolutely correct. It's just like Walmart and Target sourcing. You got to do smart sourcing. Many of the products come in raw form from overseas. You're finishing it here. So even if a fabric, there is one foreign year when you're dying, your whole 2000 years is going to be ruined. So it's very important. You work with reputed vendors whom you can trust. They can trust you. And, also having a good credit terms, because this business also, when you're selling to customers, is net 30, net 60. So you are very right. Managing this is basically a business of supply chain solutions.
Ah, okay, good. I appreciate you sharing that with the audience. So, textiles and the textile industry has been around for quite some time. I think you used the word is it's a very steady business. What are some of the things, or are there any specific strategies you're using to remain innovative in this space?
Yeah, right now, I have done some joint ventures with or strategic alliances with some key people. We have moved to technical textiles, which is the new thing in which the fabric is coated with this fiberglass fabric, which can withstand high temperature, 300, 400 degrees centigrade. It typically goes to filtration for industries like Minnesota-based Pentair or 3M. That is a new thing which I've developed in the last 10 years. And I'm pushing my partners, my vendors, my associates to get into more value added products, like more dyed products, more waterproof, more FR products. That's where the money is, that's where the margin is. By selling raw textiles to bag manufacturer or to people like Joanne's Fabric, or selling art materials to, I've sold a lot of the stretch frames and others to Hobby Lobbies, Michaels. Those are big contracts. Those are all good. It costs a lot of money. The margins are less, but the margins are really in value added products and producing finished products. Now, there is also a scope here, as I'm seeing in the industry, of providing finished products from US or from other countries, because there is a anti-China sentiment among the consumers and among the businesses. And people these days cannot wait for 120 days to supply or to get the supplies, increase the inventory. This cost of doing business at 9.5%, 8.5% interest rate from the banks is too high to inventory it for 120 days. So everybody is playing on a thin ice. So the adaptability and adapting to that, having both domestics and overseas supply base, having value added product, constantly talking with the customers. We kind of learned it from the COVID days, and we continue to innovate, but main thing is value addition.
Yeah.
That is the way we can survive in future.
That's great. So, maybe looking forward, would you offer us maybe a glimpse into your future plans and goals that you have for your business?
Yeah, sure. The future plans is, of course, as I mentioned, more value added, more technical textile product, more custom OEM products where the money is. And finally, having your own warehouse, your own distribution, your own people doing all the distribution for you instead of relying commercial warehouse and shipping for you. That is another goal we have 3 years from now, to expand right here near where I'm sitting in St. Joe, which is one of the growing towns just off I-94, with the west corridor of 94 of Minnesota expanding. We have good relationships with the city. They are looking to expand too. They're making industrial parks. So that's the goal in 3 years' time, to have our own thing right here in the heart of Minnesota, and do it, and also different kinds of value added products, which will also include finished products, as you might see in some of our Midwest stores from Menards and others, like drop cloth and tarps and bags and
Hmm.
gloves and other things, because there is a hunger in the market that goods be sourced somewhere other than China. And with the geopolitical situation with China, Taiwan, and US, the business community, including the textile community, is pretty nervous. What happens if it stops tomorrow? What happens if there is a 25% tariffs? So all these we are taking into consideration, and that's how we feel we will be very successful in future, and very hopeful for the future.
Maybe just talk a little bit about the tariffs and what that may do for your industry, and maybe how would you respond to that if you'd like to
Correct.
share that with us?
And tariff is actually being slapped with tariffs when you bring goods from overseas. We experienced in our textile industry or art material industry in 2006 when the Federal Commission at the time, on behalf of one of the US manufacturer, Tara Materials, Fredericks Canvas, which exists one of 50 years, filed a anti-dumping lawsuit, which they own. And then what happened was some of the factories which are making these stretch frames, which you pay in 2006, they were slapped with 300% duties to 25% to 300. So many of them basically then switched their factory overnight to Vietnam and Cambodia and doing all kinds of things. And then the supply stabilized a little bit. But now, what I feel with the tariff situation, with the longer lead time, with the sentiment that goods takes coming from overseas, there and how much cheap you're going to pay, it's not as cheap as it used to be. So tariffs, even if there is tariffs imposed of 10% or 15%, I think there is an appetite more to absorb it. But eventually, it will slow down, you know, people's consumption, or people, in our case, the manufacturers who are getting fabrics from us, they will only order what they need. So it's not a just in time way, but it's a kind of something, just what we need. Is instead of just in time, is just what we need. From the days when people will be stocking, Hobby Lobby used to order me for 9 months contract.
Mm.
So of course they don't want all the 9 months supply straight away. So that will have the tariff effect. The demand might come down a little bit. People will get adjusted with the prices. That is okay. But your sales invoice will reduce in terms of people stocking up. In our case, the manufacturers, they will order, more frequently in smaller quantities, which cost to the business grows, more shipping cost,
Mhm.
more other cost grows. So, but eventually, I feel if we have, which if we overcame COVID and we survived, things will balance out in long run.
Yeah, King, I appreciate you sharing that because I know tariffs are a really current hot issue right now, and I appreciate you sharing the viewpoint. Knowing that this show is going to be targeted towards people who are going to be maybe in their first few years of business, do you have any final thoughts or words of advice you'd like to share with our audience today?
Sure, both in business terms and when I teach the entrepreneurship class, especially whether an idea can be great, but to execute the idea and to have a plan is very important. I say to all my students and budding entrepreneurs who are starting, keep it bootstrap as much as possible. Even I advise that when you're starting something new, if you can have another source of income, or if you're on a full-time job, try it out in your part-time time, at least for 6 months to 8 years, 6 to 8 to 9 months time. If you also should know that 7 out of 10 new businesses fail. So if it is a new business, then make sure you have a backup plan. That if everything goes wrong, you have a basement to go and have a roof over your head. So make plan B and plan C as contingency. And if you're passionate in something, if you believe in something, keep it lean, do more listening than talking. Talk to the experts in the field, talk to the bankers' friends, talk to people who are already in business, and build a network, a support network, and don't try to increase or grow too fast, too quickly. And if you are already in an existing business, and you are trying to open up new something in that existing business front, then you are a leg up. Had it happened to me, I already had the little bit customer base, little bit vendor base, but still it's grinding every day. So don't be afraid to put in, as I call in business, 367 theory, 24/7, 365 hours, 365 days. So be prepared for that. You got to enjoy that, so that it's not like a work, it's something you're creating. It's like creating a baby, or like, watering a plant or a pet. So think about that this is your baby. And of course, all the liability is yours, so all the fruits you will. And slowly and gradually, if you can have a trusted partner, it is always good down the line, so that at least nothing else, you can bring a sweat equity partner, you can bring somebody who is there mentally, somebody who will give you different perspective. But make sure that whoever you're bringing in, that there is a concrete, like a understanding. Make sure there is also an exit policy. If you're bringing a friend, make sure that the friendship doesn't get ruined. So it is better to discuss in table, hey, if we are part of ways, this is our bylaws, this is our certificate of incorporation, these are the rules and regulation we must follow, these are the rules of the state of Minnesota, these are the federal laws, these are the taxes. Always you need to do strong financial calculations all the time, and have right people around you, and ask for help wherever you can. Again, don't run to the lawyers, don't run to all these people, because every time you do, it's $400 an hour or more. So keep it lean, keep it smart, grow slowly and steadily, and take your chances. I've been in 40 countries, in 3 continents I live. This is the best country to be an entrepreneur. So go ahead and try it out. Even if you fail, get up and try again. You will be fine.
That's great. So thank you so much for your time today, King.
Thank you, John, and wonderful talking to you. And we will share in my page too, if that's okay when you're ready.
That sounds great. And to everyone watching, I look forward to seeing you in our next episode.